I personally think that chapter 4 is a little bit easier, right? So here are the different steps or skills, I should say, that we are going to be working on for chapter 4. I'm going to go ahead and pull up O4 Garden here as well. And I'm just going to show you, again, step by step, what's a little bit different here. So first off here, the first skill, it talks about inserting the today, now, and count functions. If we go to our formulas tab and we go to insert here, you can type them in and you can find them pretty easy. So if you just type today, boom, here's the today function. Here's what's usually going to screw some of you up. There is no argument for these. So that means that there's nothing that needs to go into the parentheses for these in order to return a value. So today here, it's going to return the date formatted as a date, right? And so that is simply 10/27/2020. Now, if we go to now it's going to return the current date and time formatted as a date and time. So now we can just go ahead and click OK. Now here you can see the exact time that we have available here. This is right now. Right now that we inserted this, this is when it was completed. We could timestamp this. This is exactly when it's done. Okay. We can use the count function. So we can go up to insert and we can use count. Now count counts the number of cells in a range that contain numbers. Numbers, right? So I can't go through here, and if I go into this function here, this value wants me to select a range of cells that it wants me to count the numeric numbers in. So if I do the quantity in stock, it's not going to count these numbers in here, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to count the numbers of cells in the range that have numbers. So if I click OK, we have 69 items in stock. Okay? That's not to say that all of them have 69 in stock, but we have a total of 69 items in stock. Okay? Yeah. Right? If we go under and we type count again, we have multiple counts. We have count A, which just says it will count any cell that has data in it, whether it's numeric or alphabetical. Okay? We then also have a count if. So we can do a count that says the number of cells within a range that meet a given condition. So we're going to give this an argument. So not only can we run an if statement, but we can run a count if as well. So we could say like, how many of these items have less than 10 in stock? That's an if statement, right? How many of them have less than 10? So if they have less than 10, they'll be counted. So this formula will do that calculation for you. So if I go into my reorder here, and so maybe I'll show you the if statement first, right? So if, and now again, we're performing a logic test. So if our quantity in stock is less than 10, so if we do cell reference here, so we need to figure out, is the quantity in stock less than, I'm going to do 15 actually. So if it's less than 15, if that statement is true, quote, why? Stop it. Buy more, Dolly, is what it's going to print, right? So anything that's in the quotes, if that returns false, which means that we have more than 15, I'll put you good. Okay? So now if I click OK, boom, this function now runs. And so now, because I have it as a relative cell reference here, I can use my autofill and I can drag it all the way down. Boom, so anything less than 15, it now says buy more, Dolly, buy more, Dolly, buy more, buy more, buy more, buy more, right? So this function, we can set this up so anytime something in stock falls below 15, it triggers this change of we need to buy more. And then what we can do, if I wanted to down here, I could go ahead and throw in my count if, right? So count if, and our range here. So there's my range. And I could say if it equals buy more, if it says buy more Dolly, we're going to count how many of those that we have in a range. Boom. I can look right here, and now I have 13. There are 13 items that are low stock that I need to buy more of, right? So it's, again, using your formulas to help you calculate some of this material. We could also go in here, and I'm just going to keep picking on this range here. We could go in and add conditional formatting. So here's some examples of what conditional formatting could look like, and I'll show you a few more. Some of you have already done your data bars, but we can do a highlight cells, and we can actually say, like, if it contains text. So if we say, buy more, Dolly, we want it to show up to make sure that's even more visible. So we could say, I'm going to make it red text. So boom. So now they show up red. So now anytime that this is another identifier that we set, now we make it change its color. If we wanted to get even more crazy, we could highlight the quantity here. And up here under conditional formatting, not only can we do data bars. So here, data bars, you can see which ones are almost like full stock or have the most in stock. And then we can see the ones that have the least in stock. We could also do data scales, to where those that are green, those are the most in stock. And now we're going to start to see the yellow ones coming down, which means that we don't have as much, but we're not yet concerned. The second that they start turning into red, now we're like, uh-oh, need to buy more. So we can set those up really easy. You can also go in and you can change some more of these. So if items are good, then they're green. If they're okay, then they're yellow. If they're red, then all of a sudden you're getting dangerously low for whatever you have in stock. So there's a lot of different options that you can set. If you wanted to go real patriotic, you can do red, white, and blue if you wanted. All right. So again, we can set that up. When you're working with large chunks of text like this and you constantly have to scroll down, like, does anybody know what the title of this column was that I was working on? How about this column? How about this one? Okay. So what we can do is if we highlight all of these rows that we need, or these cells here, we can actually freeze these. So that way then we can scroll down with them. If we go to view, you can go to freeze and then freeze panes. So it's based on current selection. If you only want to freeze the top row, you can choose that one if you want to freeze the first column. But because I have quite a few that I want to look at, if I freeze my panes, now as a... Why didn't you freeze? The heck? Well, what the heck? All right, so I'm going to try to shortcut this and turn... No? Well, what the... All right, well, I'm just going to freeze the one row then, because this isn't liking to work right now. All right, you should be able to go ahead and highlight and then freeze. This worked for me first hour. Now I'm embarrassed. Well, it should work. But so here's another example. I just froze the first column instead. Now you can drag over and now you can see it, so it's a little bit easier to read. Okay. We can unfreeze that. Another way that you could look at this is if I grab all of this data here and then I can go over to home, and then I can actually format this as a table. So what that does, again, that's my highlight. So now up here across the top here, I have my column headers, and now I can actually filter, and I can use my filter process. So for this category here, maybe I want to only look at my vegetables and only veggies. So using my filters, this is just kind of like using an if statement too. It's just a little bit quicker. So boom, now here are my veggies. These are all my vegetables that I have for my company. I can see here that I need to order more cucumbers and I need to order more taters, okay? So I can see that right here. I can just filter it there. Maybe if I wanted to only then even break it down even more, I want to get rid of the you goods and look at only the buy more dolly. Boom. Now I have those set ready to go, right? We can go ahead and we can print only these sections as well if we would like to, right? You can go in, you can go set print area if you would like to. So again, you can kind of see your dots here. So probably need to switch it to landscape to get a little bit more in. And it looks like I'd have to change a little bit more here. So like maybe some of these, boom. Now I can print this whole thing, right? You could also go up to file print. You can get a little bit more creative here with print active sheets. If you want to print the entire workbook, you only want to print your selection, that's an option too. Okay, so we went over create, sort, we went over filters, we talked about converting tables to ranges, adjusting your worksheet, print settings. Sparklines are one thing that we didn't talk about. So Sparklines here are under the Insert tab, and then there's a whole section here called Sparklines. These are kind of like trend lines. So if you want to look at a large set of data and figure out what the trends are, I like to highlight the data first, and then click lines, and then tell it where the location is that I want to go. And so here now you can see these trend lines coming in. And then I could go ahead and I could say, I want to know where the high point is for our donations. Maybe I want to look in a little bit greater detail and figure out when things are being donated the most. So if I zoom in here, I could give you the example that rakes the highest thing of donations is coming in the third quarter of the year. Why would that be coming in the third quarter of the year? Leaves, yeah, exactly. It's fall, so people are going to be donating rakes. Instead of having to go through all of these quarters of data, I could just form these little trend lines here, and boom, now I can figure those out pretty quick and easy, right? So last but not least, there's one thing that they list here in more skills that to me is honestly, no joke, it's my favorite Excel function to run. Like I know you're like, Dolly, you need to get hobbies, right? Like you have favorite Excel functions. I get it. But here's one for you, especially if you're looking at the summative too. College cost, years to repay, interest rate. So if it costs, so for example, it costs me $18,000 a year to come up here to school in Whitewater, right? I was able to get like a grant, right? So my total cost actually came out to be about $12,000, right? Per year for Whitewater, because it was cheaper to pay out-of-state tuition than to pay in-state tuition in Illinois, where I'm from, okay? If my goal is to pay off my student loans from college in 15 years, right? And then whatever the interest rate is at the amount of the loan that you just borrowed. For me, my first ones from UW Whitewater were about 6.5%. In order to figure out how much of a monthly payment that I'm going to have to make, I need to take this number, because that's in years, times that by 12. I'll have 180 payments, right? To figure out how much that I have to pay in order to be able to pay those off, I can go into my formulas, I can go into my function, and I can use this PMT function. In here, this is a little bit more of a complex financial function, right? But for my rate, I choose my percentage. For my NPER, that's the total number of payments for the loan, 180. For my present value, I choose 12,000. Because at the time when I took this loan out, it was only 12,000. By the time I got out of college, it had accrued interest, so it was actually higher than 12,000. But if I wanted to pay this off based upon the current interest rate, I'd have to pay nearly $800 a month in order to pay that 1 year off in 15 years. Right? If you figure you have about 4 loans, right, for 4 years, I really wanted to pay them all off in 15 years because of the interest that they'll accrue over time too, right? You'd have to pay about $3,100 a month. So I run this too. So here's my car calculations, right? New Subaru, about $28,000 that I want, right? If I calculate how much money I have for a down payment without trading in my current truck, right? I can put about 10 down, right? So that's 18. If I turned my truck in, if I took Terry with a Y in and I traded him in, which would be rough, right? He's currently valued at about 10,000, okay? Vehicles you want to pay off in 3 years, right? You can get a 5-year loan, but you want to pay them off in 3, because otherwise after depreciation value, which you can go talk to Mr. B about, like it's not worthwhile. So if we say 36, right? 36, 36. Car loans are pretty cheap right now. So, and I have a relatively decent credit score. So if I say 0.25% or 0.025%, so 2.5%. And now I go in and I can do my payment function. So again, rate, payments, present value of the loan. In order to pay that off in 3 years, I'd have to pay about $1,200. If I put $10,000 down, my costs go down to about $760 a month. If I turn my truck in, it's down to about $400 a month. So again, this is a payment function that I use quite a bit. Exactly. Like, so do I need this brand new one and to finance the whole thing? And again, once you set these up, so maybe you want to do it for 4 years. If I pay it off in 4 years, then my monthly payments are down to $325. If I want to be real risky, I can do 5 years. I'm under 300. This gives you an idea too of like how much that you should be able to budget then every month in order to make these car payments. Right? Huh? Yeah. Nissan Frontier. So I'm a spreadsheets nerd. Like anytime I'm about to make some sort of financial commitment to something, I am running massive spreadsheets and I update everything. My wife hates it because I will not financially commit to anything without running the numbers, right? And that's because I need to make sure that we can afford things, right? So that's chapter 4 in a nutshell. So if you have questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll be coming around.